comments from staff or any recommended conditions, but we have someone who'd like to speak to the application. So if you could give the committee a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Yes, sir. We have asked for slightly increase the coverage, slightly decrease the front yard setback. The variance for the sidewall heights, that is very minimal, and that's only for the window portions, and slightly increasing the height of the building from 8.8 to 8.9. So I think it's very self-explanatory. It's very much happened in the area. We did not try to do anything new or reinvent the wheel, and we believe it's a reasonable proposal. We hope that you do feel like that too. If there is any question, I'd be more than glad to answer.
Yes, sir. We had deferred this application on December 4th, 2020. I guess there was an error. Can you just tell us what happened since we deferred the application?
Yes, there was a variance we requested for the front yard. On this was under the waiver, and we asked for that front yard variance on the waiver, but that was not reflected in the public notice. So that therefore we had to basically defer it and come before you another time with the correct set of variances as we had requested.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions of the speaker? We'll go to the next deputant. We have a Linda Goldberger. Are you there, madam? Ms. Goldberger, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, can I get your full name and address, please?
Linda Goldberger, 26 SHOULDICE Court.
Okay, if you could give us your views on this application, please.
Well, I noticed from the last time when we were meeting December and now in January, the variances had not been changed at all, except the builder added an extra variant at the end. And I'm thinking that if the maximum number 5, if the maximum permitted height is 8.8, why can't they just stick with the 8.8? And if the minimum, like if the other maximums are 7.5, why can't they just stick with the 7.5? Because this is going to be a very big building, and most of us have 2-story homes that are not as large on the street.
Okay, thank you, madam.
So that's my concern. Like, there's some way you could make it a little bit smaller, like a little bit smaller.
Okay, thank you.
You know, 0.3 meters or whatever. Thank you.
Is there any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to the agent, Mr. Shakiri. You heard the comments from Ms. Goldberger. If you'd like to respond.
Yes, basically that variance, the variances she mentioned regarding the building height and the side wall heights, those are very minimal and repeatedly granted in the area. If it wasn't because of other variances, perhaps we wouldn't have even had those variances. If it helps, basically, I would propose to eliminate the variance for the height, the last variance, 8.8 to 8.9. The wall height, I leave it to the panel. I think it's just for the window portions, and it's quite unimportant, but that's as much as I can do here.
So are you proposing to delete one of the variances?
The last variance, the building height from 8.8 to 8.9, that's
okay.
Quite insignificant.
Okay, so you're proposing to delete variance number 5.
Number 5, if I read that variance, is under section 1326, bylaw 7625. The maximum permitted building height is 8.8 meter. Proposed building height is 8.9 meter.
And you're requesting to delete variance number 5.
Yes, as I read, yes.
Okay, so you only have the variances 1 through 4.
Yes, that's right. And I'd like to make a request from Mr. Antonacci here as well, because the variance number 1 seems to have a typo. The chapter number should be 10, 20, 30, 40. It is stating at 10, 20, 40, 40.
So, okay,
If
you're
they
saying,
can,
We can make that change, Mr. Chairman. We can correct that. It's a typo.
wait, we can correct that. It's just a typo, sir. Well, the staff will correct that. Okay,
thank you very much.
Okay, any question, I'm sorry, any questions of the speaker? We have, the applicant has agreed to revise his application. He's deleting variance number 5, which is the proposed building height is 8.9 meters. He is deleting that variance, so we're only dealing with variances 1 through 4. So if I could get a motion on this revised application? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think these are minor variances after deleting in number 5. So I will move that this application be approved.
Yeah, thank you. Someone to second Mr. Khan's motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Sir, your revised application has been revised, but has been approved without condition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Item number 40, 67 Parkwoods Village. I have one person registered to speak. That is Andrew Dales. Mr. Dales, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, thank you, sir. Just give me a moment here. I'm
Good
having
afternoon.
trouble bringing up your file.
I'll just
just
note
wanted
that
to,
67,
We have a report from Transportation Services dated the 19th of January, which indicates they have no objection. We have a report from City Planning that's dated the 18th of January, recommending that your proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the attached landscaping plans dated September 10th, 2020, that were submitted to the committee on November 12th, 2020. And we also
just one
received-
correction there.
Okay, and we also received a letter from Councillor Minan Wong dated the 21st of January, who was asking for the application to be deferred to consult with the tenants. Now, would you like to defer the application to consult with the tenants?
No, we've already consulted with the tenants. I don't think this is a second hearing. We've already had a deferral. And I don't think a second deferral will be productive. We've addressed the issues that are identified in the councilor's letter.
Okay, thank you.
It's possible that he wasn't properly briefed on the history of this file.
Okay, thank you. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions or comments or would like a presentation.
Can I just point out one
Okay,
thing?
just a
You
moment,
mentioned the
sir,
condition.
Just a moment.
Sorry. Yep.
Again, okay, we have no response from the committee. Do you have anything that you'd like to tell the committee that isn't contained in the materials that we have before us today?
Just one issue, and I talked to staff about it. There's just a typo in the recommended condition for 67 Parkwoods Village Drive. The condition notes the plan dated September 10th, 2020. It should in fact be September 10th, 2019.
Okay, all right, let's find that. So you're saying it should be the landscaping plans are dated September 10th, 2019?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. It's pretty clear in the variances. You're the only person you're speaking on the item, sir, so pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask the committee if I could get a motion on the application. Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I will agree with the staff report as well, and I will move that this application be approved, and it will be subject to the January 18th staff report that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the landscaping plan, which totals 9 pages, dated September 10th, 2019, that were submitted to the Committee of Adjustments. There is forestry will apply as well, and I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry and city planning conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Okay, Mr. Dale, we're on 70 Parkwoods Village. This is item number 41. Mr. Dales, you're still here?
Yes.
And I take it, I can see there's exactly the same comments with regards to this application that we had on the previous one for 67. And I guess indicating that the attached landscaping plans dated January 13th, 2021. Is that correct on the city planning report of the 18th of January?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Again, Transportation Services had no objection to your proposal. Councillor Min and Wong wanted a deferral to consult with tenants. Would you like to defer to consult with the tenants?
No, I don't see a need for a deferral. Again, similar to 67 Parkwoods Village Drive. Number one, we've already had a deferral. Number two, we've addressed all the staff comments. We worked, at great lengths with staff over many revisions to address all the comments, transportation services, community planning, urban forestry, and we've dealt with all of them all sufficiently. And we've already met, we had tenant meetings, and we've pretty much addressed the concerns that were provided to us in the tenant meetings.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll just ask the committee if it has any questions of the speaker. There being none, sir, is there anything there that you'd like to add that isn't contained in the material that the committee has before it?
No, it's all in the covering letter that I provided.
Okay, thank you, sir. Could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yeah, similar to the same considerations that I had for the previous application before this one at 67, I will apply the same methodology, and I'll motion to approve this application and make it subject again to number 1, forestry, and number 2, the staff report of, I'm pulling it up, the staff report of January 18th, that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the attached landscape plans, total of 9 pages, dated January 13th, 2021.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Kidd, seconds. All those in favor? The motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved, subject to city planning and urban forestry conditions.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Item number 42, 76 Forest Grove Drive. I have one person registered to speak. That's Mr. James Pfeffer. Are you there, sir?
I certainly am.
Yes, thank you, sir. I have, bear with me here. I noticed that there is a report from Urban Forestry recommending refusal of the application due to impact on a city-owned maple tree. There's a city planning report dated the 18th of January, which indicates that the following variances, recommend the following variance number 3 regarding the 2-point access driveway not complying with front yard landscaping be refused. That variance number 4 regarding the combined width of all variance entrances through the front main wall be refused. That variance number 6 regarding front yard landscaping under bylaw 56923 be refused. And a 7.059 meter front yard setback be limited to the second floor as shown on the site plan drawing attached to this report. The TRCA, Toronto Region Conservation Authority, had no objection to your application in their report of the 14th of January. Council Carroll has submitted a letter dated the 15th of January indicating that she is opposed to variances number 3 and 6, which is your driveway variances. And Transportation Services has no objections, provided the driveway width doesn't exceed 9 meters. And I'll just indicate, in view of all these recommended refusals, would you like to defer the application to discuss with staff, or would you like to proceed?
Well, first I'd like to point out that Councillor Carroll did submit a letter saying that after our discussions with her
Sir,
that she's
just
satisfied.
Sir, just a yes or a no. Would you like to proceed, or would you like to defer?
We would absolutely like to proceed.
Okay, thank you. If you could give us, I think, in view of the comments from staff, if you could give staff a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Yeah, well, if you could pull up the supporting documentation that we submitted, I'll be speaking to that. And I would like to point out that we did discuss this with Councillor Carroll, and Councillor Carroll, as I've said that she is satisfied that the landscaping concerns that she stated have been addressed and she has no issues with the proposed variances. And that's not because we've changed anything, but because she actually understands the circumstances of what we've done. And I hope to convince you of the same thing. So if you'll pull up the site plan on page 1 of the supporting documentation booklet, I think that says pretty much everything that needs to be said about this project. So to start with, this project has gone through an extensive process of revision with the TRCA. So if you'll see that site plan, you'll see that the lot is 108 feet wide, it is 575 feet deep, and the TRCA has made it a condition that there be renaturalization of some of the existing developed area, which is existing behind the house. And you can see is that kind of green hatched area behind the proposed house. And there is absolutely no work at all permitted by the TRCA beyond the back of the existing house. So when this project is done, there is going to be 1.31 acres of completely natural wilderness behind the house. This proposal is going to result in a net reduction of 750 square feet less hardscape on the lot right now than there is in the existing condition. And in the front yard, we're actually reducing the amount of front yard hardscape by 200 square feet. So there's basically, there's objections to having the circular driveway, but on a 103 foot, 108 foot wide lot, it's completely appropriate. And also given the large size of this lot, you can see on this slide number 2, these are all of the circular drives in the neighborhood. It's a very common feature of the neighborhood. It's also something that the zoning bylaw permits typically in wider lots, but doesn't in this zone because the required lot frontage is actually a lot less than what's typical. If you want to go to the next slide, you can see this lot in context again. Actually, on the east side, this building is only 11.5 meters in length. So it's very, very reduced. And the owner is a longtime resident of this street. And believe me, it's only because his passion for living on this street and his diligence in meeting the extremely stringent TRCA requirements that we've been able to come up with a proposal for this lot at all. So the objections are not to the house, which I think everybody likes and is in agreement with, but the only objections that have been raised are to this circular driveway, the small landscape variance which is required, but there is an existing circular driveway on this site right now. There's going to be less hardscape on the front yard when we're done than there is right now. And, the 3-car garage and 108 foot wide lot that's 500 feet deep, this is the kind of lot that sort of thing is appropriate for. And the owner is really going to be contributing a lot more green than is there right now. There's going to be ample space both in the front and the back for replanting of trees on this lot. And I think Mr. Bostock has also said in his report that the committee can simply apply a condition that we have to get a forestry permit prior to any work that we do, which of course we would anyway. So if forestry isn't convinced that what we're doing is necessary, then, forestry has the power to refuse injury to any tree. There's ample room for replanting in the lot. The councilor, as I said, kind of understood all that, understood that there's no flooding issue on the street, that we would, if the committee approves this, we'd be happy to accept a condition because of the now smaller size of the driveway, that any runoff from that driveway be diverted to a infiltration tank on site. That's a condition we'd suggest rather than permeable pavers, because I think it would be more appropriate with the heated driveway that the owner would like to have. We're happy to accept the condition recommended by staff that the front yard setbacks be tied to the site plan. And that's the front yard setbacks have to be both to the overhanging canopy and to the second floor. So the staff kind of
Sir,
missed
can you
that
summarize,
aspect
please?
of this.
Sir, can you
Yeah, I think we've talked to, I did correspond with David Bostock, who submitted his report late. He said that he said that he could work with us on preservation of this tree. There's ample room on this site for the driveway and the garage that's proposed, and the owner is actually
Okay, sir,
contributing a significant amount of green space to the
thank you,
city.
sir.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Now, I just wanted to confirm, I was up to look at the site, and I think I tend to agree with you that double driveways circular driveways seem to be the rule rather than the exception on this street. I just wanted to confirm the fact that you're actually increasing the amount of soft landscaping in the front yard with this revised driveway design. Is that correct?
That is correct. You will notice, I guess, that we are not actually requesting a soft landscape variance. The only landscaping variance is for the total percentage of landscaping. And that's because aside from the driveway, we basically have the small walkway to the front door.
Okay.
And this project is going to result in a net reduction of 200 square feet of hardscape in the front yard.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is to Mr. Pfeiffer that variance number 9, building hazard from shoreline is 6 meters instead of 10 meters. And it is supported by variance number 4 and number 6, where vehicle front, variance number 4 is vehicle frontage entrance, and number 6 is front yard landscape area 50 from 60. So how do you explain that you are 40% short? And please explain to me that why should we consider 6 meters from shoreline?
Well, the shoreline hazard is something that's obviously kind of within the expertise of the TRCA. And if you could pull up the site plan, we have worked for a year with the TRCA to come up with a solution for this lot. And the TRCA is perfectly happy to have this 6 meter setback. And if you take a look at the site plan, what you'll see is that on the west side of the site there, the building is only 11.5 meters deep. And behind the building, what you can see is a kind of a green hatch. And the TRCA has requested that the owner remove the pool that's there, remove the deck that's there, and renaturalize that whole area. And the TRCA, as a condition of their permit, has said the owner can't do anything in that rear yard. They can't put a garden gnome in the back to look at. So we have worked diligently with the TRCA to resolve the concerns. We did a geotechnical study. We met with the TRCA in their offices back when it was still possible to do so. And we've really gone through a really rigorous process with the TRCA to resolve their concerns. And resolving those has kind of left us with this one variance in the front. Now the variance in the front, I actually worked very much with a planner beforehand on the driveway issue, and we had reduced the driveway to a level that she found acceptable prior to the other hearing. Now, I reached out to the planner before the submission deadline for the hearing, but this file had been assigned to a new planner. So the new planner also had concerns with the driveway, but it's no bigger than what we came before the committee before, and the planner who's dealing with the issue then didn't have an issue with the driveway size we're proposing. The reason that we need this landscape and not soft landscape variance is because the front yard is so truncated, basically because we have to push this building on this 575-foot deep lot. We have to push the building a little bit. We have to keep it as far as we can to the front to actually allow a reasonable building to be built here at all. And that just makes for a kind of a smaller front yard, hence the variance. Also, if you take a look at this plan, you'll see that the front lot line is angled. And you can imagine if you just straightened out that front lot line, what you'd actually see is that a greater percentage of the front lot line would be green and less of it would be driveway. You know, if you just take that lot line, if you imagine just sort of twisting it to be perpendicular to the lot, you'd be sort of adding more green and you'd be taking away driveway. So that explains those two variances, Mr. Khan.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And through you,
Any
Chair.
further questions of the speaker? Could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I feel that the explanations provided by the applicant here today in terms of this particular project, I've given those kinds of considerations, and I think that for the type of property it is, I think that they've done the best that they could. And with that in mind, I'm going to motion to approve this application. And I am not going to be considering at this time the staff recommendations based on the explanations provided by the applicant here today, but I will make it subject to forestry. That's my motion.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor?
Mr. Khan is 100%.
Opposed? Mr. Khan dissenting? Sir, your application has been approved subject to urban forestry conditions.
Very good, Jim.
Thank you very much. Have a great
case
evening.
Number 43, 108 Albertus Avenue. I have 4 people registered to speak. The first person is the agent, Mr. Ben Gom. Are you there, sir?
I am.
Yes,
I
can
am
I
here.
get your full name and address, please?
Ben Gom, Project Studio Architects at 219 Dufferin Street, Toronto.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to advise, we have a report from City Planning dated the 19th of January, and it recommended that the following variance should be modified, which is variance number 4. Sir, do you have other audio devices turned on? Can you turn them off? We're getting an echo.
I do not. No, I have nothing else turned on.
Okay, there's something picking up the echo. Okay, they want variance number 4 modified with respect to the proposed floor space index to a maximum of 0.8. And then should the committee choose to approve the application, they recommend that they attach the following condition: that the property be developed substantially in accordance with the west and east side elevation drawings submitted to the committee as attachments 1 and 2 to their report. Transportation Services on the 19th of January had no objections, and Councillor Cole submitted a letter on the 26th of January recommending that the committee adopt the city planning recommendations. Have you had an opportunity to review all that?
Absolutely, yeah. We've had an opportunity to review it and also work extensively with planning, and we are in total agreement. So for variance 4, we have no problem taking that down to an FSI of 80%. As per.
So, sir, can you tell me, are you proposing to modify variance number 4?
Yes. Yeah, modification of variance 4 to 80% as per planning and Councillor Cole's suggestion.
Okay, so you're proposing to, currently, the current request was for 0.94 times the area of the lot, and you're proposing to reduce it to 0.80.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Sir, if you could give the committee a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of your revised proposal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just go right to the. I think it just needs to be noted that we did bring this to Committee of Adjustment back in July of 2020. we deferred because the owners of the property were actually living in Sweden at the time and on their way packing up to come back to Toronto. And we wanted an opportunity. Obviously, we recognized that there was a lot of opposition from the neighbors. So we wanted an opportunity to meet with them and settle any of those issues that they had. We subsequently were only able to meet with 2 of the neighbors. Nobody else seemed interested in meeting with us. And we came to a lot of good solutions to satisfy their concerns. So I'll just go through the variances now. So the maximum building length, 14 meters. We're proposing 15.57 meters. Again, this was reduced from the original variance of, I believe, 19 meters. So we've reduced it a drastic amount. It also needs to be noted that even with our building length variance, we're still going to be 1.35 meters less than the adjacent property on the west side. That's a recent new build that they've gotten obviously a deeper variance. The permitted maximum height is 10 meters. We're asking for 10.86 meters. First of all, this is very much a minor ask. It also needs to be noted that the only reason we're asking for that variance is because, as per our calculations, the existing structure is actually a conforming, non-conforming situation. So we've measured the existing structure, which is the front portion of the house, at 10.86 meters. So all we're looking to do is match the existing roof line of the existing structure. The permitted sidewall, 7.5 meters, we're asking for 9.46 meters. Luckily, planning was able to understand that we're obviously not asking for that along the entire length of the property. The only reason we're asking for that is, as you can see in this diagram here, we have a dormer that will allow proper access for a stairway to access up to the attic space on the 3rd floor. So it's just for that length, which is, which I believe is it's maybe 14 feet in length, which is really only 28% of the entire length of the building. Variance 4, we've already gone over. We're taking that down to 80% as per the suggestion of both planning and Councillor Mike Cole. The variance 5, roof eaves protection, from 300 millimeters, we're taking that down to 150 millimeters. Again, very, very minor in nature, and it has to be noted that the neighbors on the west side that this affects had no comments or objections to it in their letters. The parking spaces, which take over variances 6 and 8, obviously should be fine, as they were both accepted by transportation. Yeah, and that is it. Oh, again, it should be noticed that variance 2 and 7 are both in relation to height. So if you take away, one for variance 2 and 7 and one for variance 6 and 8, we really only have 6 variances in question. So.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to the next deputant on the list. We have a Wendy Orbach. Are you there, madam?
Yes, I am.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
It's Wendy Orbach, 83 Albertus Avenue.
Thank you. If you could give us your views on this application, please.
Well, thank you for taking the time. It's been a long day and I appreciate you listening. There are 13 neighbors that have submitted letters of concern about this overdevelopment of the lot. One of the concerns that we have are the height variances. It's just really, really way too tall. It's taller than the east and west sides of the adjacent properties. It's not in the scale of the neighborhood, and it's going to create massive shadows and blocking natural light into the adjacent properties. It's also my understanding that when a house this high is built near existing chimneys, it's incumbent on the affected homeowner to have to address their chimney clearance at their own expense. And the other concern we have is the 3rd floor decks. They're going to give sight lines northeast, south, and west, north, south, east, and west. And they're going to look into the windows of adjacent properties. And every sound is going to be magnified on these elevated decks. And I think neighbors have the right to privacy and quiet enjoyment of their own homes without noise and sightlines from an upper deck viewing gallery. I also think, and I appreciate that they've reduced the FSI down to 8, but I think it's still too big. And the majority of homes in our street have an FSI average of 0.48. That's 82% below 0.60. And I have this data from the recent Briar Hill T-Lab at 86 Briar Hill, and this was submitted from Franco Romano. So I just think that the FSI is still way above the average over the character of our street. And I think that needs to be brought down in line to respect the adjacent neighbors, the neighborhood, not to set precedents, and to also mirror the prevailing character of our street. I'm also concerned that there's a minimal pathway to the rear yard from the front wall. And in the middle of this is going to be a side door, and there's going to be 16 inches from the lot line of 106 to the stair. And I think that's a safety issue, a rear yard issue, and it's a drainage issue. Like, how do you negotiate 16 inches into your backyard? How do you bring a bicycle in that little space, let alone lawn equipment or whatever? And furthermore, it's my understanding that the original COA hearing was deferred in order for this developer to communicate with the adjacent neighbors. And from my understanding, this has only happened with one of the neighbors. So I think that this should be deferred so that there's actual communication with the person most affected, which is the adjacent neighbor. And I don't think this passes any of the 4 tests. And I think that I'm not opposed to respectful development, which takes into account the prevailing characteristics of the neighborhood, which this does not. It also takes away a whole garden and grass to make a front parking spot. They're going to have to do a curb cut that will take away a on-street parking that people pay for parking for. They'll minimize parking spots, and it's going to create drainage issues. We're on a slight elevation on a hill for everything to the east of that property. So I am asking you to defer this application so that the developer can modify the plans and speak with the adjacent neighbor that's most affected.
Okay.
Maintain the official plan and the zoning bylaws.
Thank you, madam. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll move to the next person on the list. I have a Wen Lee. Are you there? No. Wen Lee, are you there? Wen Lee, are you there? Oh.
I am. Yeah,
Okay, thank you, madam. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yeah, thank you. My name's Wendy. I'm the owner of 106 Albertus, the adjacent property on the east side.
Okay, thank you. If you could give us your views on this application.
Thank you, and dear committee, I must emphasize that the condition of the COA defer was not fulfilled by the applicants. I wrote them a letter in August and follow up in September, but they never communicated or replied to me in the last 5 months. I provide my emails and letter as a supporting document to you, and you can tell none of my concerns was addressed. So area residents are very concerned about this application, evidently in their letter submitted to COA. For the variance listed on the public notice, I oppose the request FSI. Even the 0.8, it's way above the average FSI on the street, we almost twice. And also noted in the letter, councilor's letter, saying that the average approved was never as high as 0.8 for a similar lot. I really appreciate you put consideration of that because you have the full data, and I also purchased the full package from COA from past approvals. I oppose the building height because it's like 5 feet higher even than the two new builds on the west side, not to mention how much higher than the two older houses on the east side. If you look at the picture I submitted to you, while their old structure is not submitted to bylaw, their applicants should not use this as their excuses to create a monster size addition. As we all know, this bylaw does apply to their new addition. It should not exceed the FSI and building height. I strongly oppose the variance 3, which put the 3 meter above the city limit. That 3-story tower will completely block any western light to our northwestern rooms, both on the second floor and on the first floor, and half the garden. If you look at the picture in my letter on page 8, that will be complete cover half the garden, which currently is a professional landscaped. Moreover, it puts our 2 fireplace chimney in violation of building code. I also submitted a supporting document 3 to you. This is a pose of fire and a carbon monoxide hazard to us. And this adverse events can be avoided by reduce the sidewall height within the limit. I didn't ask more, but you please refuse this variance.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Any question of the speaker?
I have 2 points. It's related to their new plan. They put in just 1 day before the submission. If you just allow me for 2 minutes.
Okay, madam, you still have a couple of minutes. Are you finished?
No, I'm not finished because they put a new plan.
Okay, well, keep going then.
Oh, thank you very much. One thing I will make sure that I really request a permanent private screen on the 3rd floor, so I'm not gonna look into my bedroom and the backyard. That's one point is related to the letter, which is submitted only 1 day before our deadline. They put an additional modified variance into the application, although it's not on your list. On his letter on page 2, he mentioned there is a modified variance, 43 centimeter from east law line, and put a stair over there, and that it shows on your east side elevation drawing as well, and also on the site plan. So that is concerning. If you look at the I have here. If you look at the drawing on my
okay, madam, you have 30 seconds. You have to summarize.
All right, on my page 3, and my last point, there is a stair. Okay, one thing is they propose this without consulting me at all. Only give 1 day, and this is asymmetric structure, put a lot of weight on our side. I need the time to consult my structural engineer. That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, madam, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to any questions of the speaker? Okay, we'll go to our last person on the list. I have a Lawrence Olivo. Are you there, sir?
Mr. Chair, Lawrence Olivio is not present. However, we do have one more deputant, which would be Jennifer Dobson.
Ms. Dobson, are you there?
Yeah. Oh.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, I am. It's Jennifer Dobson, and I live at 110 Albertus Avenue.
Okay, if you could give us your comments on this application, please. And can you please, madam, can you please try and not repeat stuff we've already heard?
Okay, because I must say, I want to thank everyone, and I think the 2 other wonderful residents of Albertus Avenue raised a lot of concerns that I know have been voiced just in passing with other residents and neighbors on the street. But I just wanted to focus mainly on our house being very close to 108.
Okay.
The foundation is on our property, like our property and 108 share a very old foundation. So our concern is simply primarily all that I can talk to right now is that Ben and the architects make sure that there is a step and that they pull back the basement development as they said they would, so that we do not have a problem with our foundation and our structure falling. That is of utmost concern to us. And I support other residents in what they're saying, but I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you, madam. Any questions?
Thank you
of the
very
speakers?
much.
Okay, there being none, we'll go back to Mr. Guam. Are you there?
I am here, yeah.
Yes, if you'd like to respond to the comments made by the previous speakers.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, let me just respond to the aspect of the deferral. We deferred our date was originally July 16th of 2020. I then, the very next day, sent an introduction email to the neighbors at 110 Albertus and 106 Albertus, who are the two adjacent properties who I thought were the most important to start with. I then set up or continued to try to set up a meeting between the two parties where we could either meet on site back in July. This was actually acceptable during COVID, or a Zoom meeting if they felt comfortable doing that. It took some time, but eventually we were able to do that. Just with respect to the other neighbors, I responded to everybody who submitted a letter of objection to the Committee of Adjustment. That was 3 properties, which is 103 Albertus, 83 Albertus, who just spoke, and 115 Craighurst Road. I sent that letter on August 13th, 0 response, not one response from any, and I sent them the exact same letter saying, this is who I am, this is who I represent, here are the issues. I would love to meet with you guys either in person or Zoom, no response at all. So the only people who responded were the 2 adjacent neighbors. We continued to then, over the next 4 or 5 months, go back and forth and present major reductions in our scope of work and design that would satisfy both our initial concerns of the variances that we agreed were egregious, as well as other stuff that had nothing to do with the actual variances. Case in point was the neighbor at 110, Jennifer Dobbs, and her husband, who just spoke. Even though we had no variances that had anything to do with the side yard setback, they were rightfully concerned that our houses were naturally very close together, and they were concerned about any foundation work that we were going to be doing. We recognized that. We met with them with their structural engineer as well as our structural engineer and devised a plan where we moved our foundation wall along the west and adjacent property line. We've moved that back by a foot and introduced a bench footing to ensure that we weren't going to be going down deep enough to affect any angle of repose. We've also let them know that because of the nature of the site and the difficulty in getting major machinery back there, that we would be doing everything with very small, non-major excavation stuff. And further to that, we'd probably be doing hand digging when we're along their property line. So we had some really great meetings with them. I actually met with them again last night when I was on site, and they were in total agreement. And if need be, we will agree to anything that, if one of the conditions needs to be that we would have to stick with the detail that we've provided in pulling the foundation wall back by foot and including the bench footing, if that wants to be, if they want to, or if the committee wants to adhere that to the conditions. I don't know if that's something that can be done, but we'd be more than happy to do that. With respect to the neighbor on the other side, she's correct. So first of all, her approach was very demanding. She doesn't understand the Committee of Adjustment process. She can't demand that we make all these changes. She can suggest things that are of issue to her, and we can do whatever we think within the boundaries that were allowed to make some changes. Some of the changes that we did do were, she had some issues with respect to foundation work and drainage along her property line. So we actually removed the proposed basement walkout along her side of the property line. We've also removed one of the dormers that was proposed. And again, I really don't think she fully understands. She keeps bringing up issues of, first of all, of height, and the neighbors are seeing this as an egregious push for height. There's no difference in height. We are literally maintaining the entire existing structure, which just happens to non-conform with the 10-meter height. So in terms of a streetscape view, nothing is changing at all. The nature of the building, it's remaining a beautiful 100-plus-year-old Victorian structure that we're not changing at all. And then with their comments to the fireplaces and issues with that our construction will have with the fireplaces, again, we're not touching the existing structure at all. Like
Sir,
we are pushing.
summarize?
Yeah, we were pushing out to, for a rear addition on the back that has nothing to do with anything with respect to their chimneys.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Okay, if I could get a motion on this application, this revised application, please note that variance number 4, which relates to floor space index, the proposed floor space index is 0.94 times the area of the lot that has been reduced from 0.94 to 0.80. So if I could get a motion on this revised application, please. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, sir. Well, we have transportation has given no objection, and staff has recommended, as you said, variance number 4 has been revised to 0.8, and taking the advice and the comments, I would say property be developed substantially in accordance with the east and west side elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment and attachment 1 and 2 to this report. Therefore, I move this application be approved with conditions.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Someone to second Mr. Khan's motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, did we get the, I'm sorry, did we get the revision for variance number 4?
Yes, we did. So Mr. Khan was proposing to move the revised application subject to the city planning condition, which of course is to the property be developed substantially in accordance with the west and east side elevation drawings submitted to the committee. And that was his recommendation. Ms. Sankar seconded it. So all those in favor?
No.
Ms. Sankar, did you have? Ms. Sankar, did you
So,
have something to say?
sorry, so it did mean that variance number 4 was reduced to 0.8. I think
correct.
that's what Mr. Kidd, right, so
That's
I'm
correct.
seconding that, yes.
Okay, and
indeed.
so all those in favor? Again, I'm sorry. That motion carries. Sir, your revised application has been approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to terminate the meeting, please?
Motion to terminate.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Seconded, Mr. Khan seconded it. Thank you so
Bye,
much, folks.
everybody.
Thanks for your patience.
Bye.
Thank you, city staff. Bye-bye.
Good day.